Marcus and I had been together for 10 years, and I wanted to get married. I baked a cake myself, lit the candles, and asked him, Marcus, today is our 10th anniversary together. Will you marry me? Marcus looked at me, silent for a long moment before finally saying, let's wait until the firm is stable. I insisted, I want to get married this year. I'll pay the filing fee, you just need to find time to get the marriage license. Marcus, however, looked at me with an impatient gaze. Grace, stop acting out. The firm is at a critical juncture for funding. How can I possibly think about marriage right now? I nodded and said, then I'll marry someone else. Marcus scoffed. 10 years. We'd gone to the same school, worked at the same firm. He didn't believe I could just find someone else that easily. But after my new partner and I walked into the wedding chapel, Marcus, his eyes red-rimmed, pleaded in a low voice, Grace, don't marry him. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. Marcus and I were high school classmates and desk partners. The day the college entrance exams ended, he confessed his feelings to me, and I, who had secretly loved him, immediately said yes. We both got into the same university, recognized as the campus couple. After graduating college, he started his own business, and to help him professionally, I chose a finance major and continued with graduate studies. And so, we were together for 10 years. Actually, I had brought up marriage after I finished graduate school. At that time, he refused, citing a crisis at the firm and his inability to provide me with a good life then. And so, I waited another 6 years. During this time, I never actively brought up marriage with Marcus again. I wanted to wait for him to be ready and propose to me. 3 days ago, during a company retreat, I had a few drinks and found an excuse to go rest by the stairwell. I overheard Marcus chatting with the firm's CEO. You and Grace, you've been together for almost 10 years, right? When are you getting married? Marcus was smoking, not saying a word. The other person said, never thought about marriage? 10 years and still not married, thinking of breaking up? Then I heard Marcus's voice, after all these years, I see her at work, I see her at home. I just feel like if we get married like this, I'll be able to see the end of our lives together at a glance. I'm afraid I'll regret it. It was then I realized that while I happily dreamed of building a complete and happy family with Marcus, he was actually afraid of regretting marrying me. This 10th anniversary was my last chance for Marcus to marry me. Aunt's answer was still the same as before. Just because I mentioned it, Marcus's mood turned volatile. Grace, if you can find another man to marry, then go find one. Stop hounding me every single day. But I had only brought it up twice. Marcus left, and I cried over the cake all night. By the time I regained my composure, the sky was already bright. Wiping away my tears, I opened WhatsApp and texted someone in my WhatsApp contacts I hadn't spoken to in a long time, asking, getting the marriage license? Tomorrow? They quickly replied, you and Marcus broke up? I replied, marrying or not? If not, I'll ask someone else. That person said, right now. Bring your birth certificate and ID downstairs, I'll pick you up. You have 10 minutes to change your mind. My eyes red-rimmed, I decided to leave myself no escape and replied, okay. After getting the marriage license, I returned to Marcus's apartment, took all my belongings, and moved into the apartment I'd bought 4 years ago. That evening, I received a call from Marcus. He was angry to find my things gone. Grace, when did you become so difficult and start acting out like this? I've already explained why I'm not planning to get married right now. Can you please stop pressuring me? I said, I'm not pressuring you, Marcus. If you don't want to get married, then don't. It's just that I want to get married. But I no longer cared if Marcus was the name on the marriage certificate. Marcus said nothing. I hung up directly and buried my face in my knees. I wanted to tell him, getting the marriage license was really quick. The whole process took no more than 10 minutes. It wasn't like I was forcing him onto a gallows. 3 minutes later, Marcus called again. I knew this time he would try to smooth things over with me, but I didn't answer. Just then, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw him. Before I could speak, he wrapped an arm around the back of my neck and kissed me. After 10 years with Marcus, we were as familiar as two halves of a whole. Now, an unfamiliar scent filled my nostrils, my phone buzzed, Marcus calling repeatedly. My heart pounded, and my fitness tracker on my wrist vibrated. It wasn't excitement, it was nervousness, fear, and an indescribable feeling. He saw the contact name displayed on my phone but showed no intention of stopping. Why are you here? I asked him, my breath unsteady. The man wrapped his arm around my waist. I wanted to resist. He asked, what do you think Marcus would do if he found out you married me? My eyelashes fluttered. My hands stopped resisting. It felt like a farewell ritual. From now on, my body and my heart belonged to someone else. Afterward, he gently kissed the corner of my lips. He murmured, "Don't blame me. You had 10 years with him. Only by doing this can I feel like you truly belong to me. Good night, Mrs. Ethan." I fell asleep, not hearing his words, nor seeing the message from Marcus displayed on my phone on the nightstand. "Grace, let's both calm down." The next day, my legs ached so much I walked unsteadily. He dropped me off at the firm an hour late. Marcus had already started the morning meeting. Seeing me appear outside the office, he merely gave me a cold glance. "Late. No attendance bonus." I nod. Calmly preparing to enter the conference room. Marcus, however, said, "Chloe did an excellent job. From now on, Chloe will handle the morning meetings." Chloe smiled at me triumphantly. "Ms. Grace, I'll take care of it. You go rest." I knew she liked Marcus. A freshly graduated college student, she had almost no resistance to the handsome, wealthy, gentle, and gentlemanly young vice president. Chloe had hinted more than once, asking me, "Ms. Grace, you and Mr. Marcus have been together for so many years, why aren't you married yet?" Several times, Marcus had accidentally overheard. And in this way, Marcus also mistakenly believed I was pressuring him to marry me. But he never heard Chloe's follow-up. "I've heard that couples who date too long without marrying are the most likely to break up. Mr. Marcus is so handsome and accomplished, he's very popular with women. Ms. Grace, if you don't marry Mr. Marcus soon, it's truly risky." The implication was clear. After the meeting, as I was preparing to leave, a colleague next to me looked at me in surprise and exclaimed, "Ms. Grace, no wonder you were late today. Must have been tired last night, huh?" Only then did I realize my silk scarf had come loose at some point, revealing mottled marks on my neck. Marcus was instructing Chloe on important meeting notes, but his gaze, following my colleague's words, locked intently on my neck. It reminded me, anyway, that there was no turning back for me. I pulled my scarf tighter around my neck and explained to my colleague, "Allergies." Only then did Marcus withdraw his gaze. I returned to the administrative assistant's office to sit down and rest, simultaneously considering one thing, resigning. After I had thought it through, I went to Marcus's office. Marcus saw me enter and, thinking I was giving in, his expression softened slightly. "I've asked Chloe to get you some allergy medication. Stop being moody. Once the firm's funding is settled, I'll consider marriage." So, marrying. It was only something he needed to consider, with no regard for my feelings. "Mr. Marcus, I'd like to resign," I stated directly. Marcus's face immediately fell upon hearing this. "Grace, we can discuss our personal matters at home in private. Do you really have to bring your emotions into the workplace?" My heart ached as I said, "Mr. Marcus, I'm not bringing emotions into work. I'm getting married." Upon hearing this, Marcus uncontrollably smashed the capybara mug on his desk to the floor. "Grace, did you come to the firm just to pressure me?" I suppressed my own rising temper and calmly looked at him. "Marcus, I am getting married, but not to you." Marcus clearly didn't believe me. He thought this was just a tactic to force his hand. Chloe walked in, saw the shattered capybara mug on the floor, and froze for a moment. "I'll submit my resignation to human." Ignoring, I left after dropping that statement. In truth, I was far from as calm as I appeared. After 10 years with Marcus, he was like the blood in my bones, permeating every part of my body. I also knew that if I pressured him, he would marry me out of a sense of responsibility. But I didn't want that. For 3 years in high school, we secretly loved each other but held back. After college, we loved each other passionately. But I didn't want to become like a disliked grain of rice stuck to his tie, something taken for granted and ignored. 10 years. I couldn't let go, and neither could he. So even though he didn't want to marry me, he also wasn't willing to let go. It didn't matter. If his heart grew tired first, then I would be the first to leave. After all, loss is what truly leaves an impression. Organizing my thoughts, I began to write my resignation letter. Over the years, I had saved a considerable amount of money and had been investing in stocks and funds, which were performing well. I also managed a social media account and gained a good number of followers. Even without a job, I wouldn't have to worry. Why about daily life? Marcus, however, knew none of this. He was always immersed in his work, and he consistently expressed understanding for my endeavors, allowing me to do whatever I wished. At first, I thought he was unconditionally supportive. But now, reflecting, I realized he wasn't supportive, he was simply uninterested in my hobbies and passions. I finished writing my resignation, printed it out, and before I could take it to the human department, Chloe walked in. "Ms. Grace, don't pressure Mr. Marcus too much. The firm is at a critical funding stage right now. He always prioritizes work and sets personal matters aside. You should know Mr. Marcus better than I do." I looked at the capybara mug Chloe was holding. "The mug he smashed, was it a gift from you? A matching set?" I should have noticed long ago that Marcus's office had, at some point, acquired decorations not matching his style. Before, when I saw new items on Marcus's desk, I'd curiously asked about them. At the time, Marcus had looked at the quirky desk ornament, smiled, and said, "Just some youth fad." Chloe instantly became flustered. "Ms. Grace, no, it's not. It was a birthday gift I gave to Mr. Marcus. I liked it myself, so I kept one for myself." She couldn't control her crush on Marcus, but she truly hadn't crossed any lines with him. She merely wanted to see when our relationship would end. I turned my gaze away, saying nothing more. Chloe, steeling herself, placed the allergy medication on my desk. "Ms. Grace, Mr. Marcus approved a month's leave for you, saying I'll cover your work during this time. That works too." "Okay." I accepted calmly. After left, I submitted my resignation to the human department. This meant I had a month of paid leave, and I would return to finalize my resignation after that. For 10 years, my life revolved around Marcus and the firm. I thought leaving it would make me very sad. But after stepping out the main door, I merely glanced back once. Just then, I received a message from him. "How about we have the wedding a month from now? I'll send you some hotels and wedding styles." My mind went blank. I could only reply, "Anything is fine, whatever you like." Back home, I tried my best to keep busy. I didn't want to get lost in memories. As I was looking at stocks, a voice came from behind me, "Thinking of buying this one? This corporation is already in deep trouble. They're just suppressing it for now. Unless something unexpected happens, it'll blow up tomorrow. I suggest you buy their competitor's stock." "I see." I hadn't realized he knew so much about stocks. By the time I turned around, Ethan was already leaning in. "Didn't you say you were going to the firm?" I was still getting used to our intimacy. After he kissed me, I avoided looking back at him. Before leaving that morning, Ethan had asked for the spare key to my apartment. I had no reason to refuse. Yes, to ask for leave. Ethan immediately showed me proposals from a wedding planner. I have to say, being with Ethan was very comfortable. He was very perceptive, able to guess which style I preferred based on how long my gaze lingered. After we picked a wedding planner, he pulled me along to choose new home decor. The afternoon passed this way, and Ethan only let me off the hook when he saw I was tired from choosing. I glanced at my phone and saw a message from Human Management. After I left, Human Management submitted my resignation to Marcus, who flew into a rage and ripped up the paper copy. I then sent an electronic copy to Human Management using my work email, and this time Marcus approved it. He sent a message. "You're using your resignation to pressure me? This will only make me angrier." It seemed he was convinced I was just acting out of pique. But it didn't matter, time would tell. I thought I would remain in a state of sadness for a long time, but didn't give me the chance. He took time off to take me house hunting, choose design plans, and buy decorat irons at various shops. He researched my video content with me and offered constructive suggestions. Then he took me home to meet his parents, and we had dinner together. In less than a week, we had set a definite wedding date. I couldn't help but compare him to Marcus. Marcus was very disciplined, never indulging in anything excessive. Even things I liked would be vetoed at his suggestion, but often asked me, "What do you like?" During this time, news about Marcus continuously reached me through a few close colleagues at the firm. For instance, there were data errors that Chloe couldn't sort out, leading the board of directors to furiously criticize Marcus. Another time, Marcus got drunk, and Chloe took him home, only to leave in tears herself. I stared blankly at the messages from my colleague. Ethan, emerging from the shower, accidentally glimpsed them and asked me, "You didn't tell him about the wedding?" I said, "I wrote it in my resignation letter." Ethan dried his hair, his eyes fixed on me as he chuckled. "Mrs. Ethan, what's your guess? Did he read it?" I hesitated for a moment. Maybe he did. But perhaps he just thought it was an excuse to pressure him. "Speak of the devil," Marcus called. Besides that one night, this was the first time he had contacted me in a week. As I hesitated, Ethan already pressed the answer button and mouthed something to me. He'd go cook. Ethan was an excellent cook because he was particular about food, and the quality of ordinary restaurants often didn't meet his standards. I also cooked, so if he cooked, I did the dishes, and if I cooked, he helped out and took care of the rest of the chores. As for housework, we both agreed to hire a housekeeper. Marcus, on the other hand, would only work, then wait to eat, continue working after eating, and leave me to clean up. I asked Marcus, "Is there something I can help you with, Mr. Marcus?" On the other end of the line, Marcus's breathing was heavy, as if he'd been drinking. "Grace, if you are not angry anymore, just come back. After all these years, do you really want to be in a cold war with me forever?" I didn't speak. He then whispered, "I know you want to get married. It's not that I won't marry you, I just haven't decided yet. Give me a little more time." I wanted to ask him, wasn't 10 years enough time? But then I felt it was pointless. A finger poked me. I turned my head to see Ethan, who had quietly entered and was now slipping a ring onto my finger. It had a massive pink diamond. I remembered it being auctioned off at a charity auction gala a week ago. Now I realized it was the same night Ethan and I had gotten our marriage license. Ethan smiled at me and silently mouthed a few words. "Happy wedding day, Mrs. Ethan." In that moment, I no longer hesitated. I told Marcus, "Mr. Marcus, I'm already married. You have plenty of time to consider your own matters, but they no longer concern me. After my leave, I'll return to the firm to finalize my resignation, and I hope you won't bother me anymore." On the other end of the line, there was the sound of shattering glass, followed by Chloe's scream. Chloe nervously took the phone. "Ms. Grace, Mr. Marcus's stomach ulcer is acting up. He won't go to the hospital." I quickly said, "The stomach medicine is in the second drawer under the living room TV. Don't take certain medications if he's been drinking." Chloe, following my instructions, found the stomach medicine and breathed a sigh of relief. "Ms. Grace. Thank you." I hummed, preparing to hang up, but Chloe asked, "Ms. Grace, are you really married?" I glanced at Ethan and replied, "Yes, I am. My husband is right next to me. Would you like to speak with him?" "No, no thank you," Chloe said, quickly hanging up in fright. Ethan cupped my chin, smiling. "Mrs. Ethan, you remember so clearly." His tone was full of jealousy. It wasn't that I remembered clearly, it was because I managed everything in the household. Marcus would never pay attention to the small details of daily life. I didn't know if Marcus remembered what I'd said. Nor did I care if Chloe believed me. In any case, no one at the firm asked me if I was actually married. I didn't contact Marcus again, and he didn't contact me either. He knew I'd bought an apartment, but not which building, floor, or unit. One night, I did hear the security guard mention seeing Marcus's car outside, and he'd asked me about it. However, to protect resident privacy, he cautiously remained silent. About half a month passed this way. After speaking with Human, I went to the firm early to process my resignation. I didn't bring any wedding invitations, nor did I plan to invite anyone. For those 10 years, Marcus and I were practically inseparable, and everyone I knew was through work. After ending things with Marcus, I didn't need to drag them into my personal life. After finalizing my resignation, I walked out and bumped right into Marcus and Chloe. Chloe hesitated, saying, "Mr. Marcus, Mr. Ethan from Thorne sent a wedding invitation. His wedding is in half a month, and he hopes you'll attend." Marcus's voice was hoarse. "Go prepare a gift and deliver it for me then." Chloe looked like she wanted to say something but held back. I knew Ethan would send him an invitation. I deliberately tried to step back and avoid him, but Marcus, turning the corner, still bumped into me. The moment I saw him, my calm inner world felt as if a stone had been dropped into a still lake. But the ripples quickly spread and vanished, and peace returned. After more than half a month apart, Marcus had changed somewhat. His stubble wasn't cleanly shaven, his tie was crumpled, and his eyes were red, indicating he hadn't slept well. Right, he suffered from nervous exhaustion and had trouble sleeping. I always kept an aromatherapy diffuser at home for him, but there wasn't much left when I left. It must have run out long ago. Seeing me, Marcus started to speak, but then restrained himself, tugging at his tie. "Since you've come to your senses and returned, just get settled. Everything will be as it was." I held up the things I'd packed and showed them to Marcus. "Mr. Marcus, you're overthinking it. I'm here to finalize my resignation." I figured since Mr. Marcus gave me a month's leave anyway, I might as well do it early. Primarily, because I'll be having a wedding, I was afraid I wouldn't have time to process the resignation later. Marcus's face darkened. "Grace, you've been at the firm for so many years. Do you realize that if you leave now, there's no coming back?" Company policy stated that former employees who had resigned could not be rehired. Just as I was about to speak, Chloe suddenly exclaimed, "Ms. Grace, your ring is so beautiful. When did you get it?" I was surprised. Marcus shifted his gaze to the ring on my ring finger, his eyes darkening. Before I could react, he grabbed my hand. What is this? I frowned, about to speak, when Ethan's voice came from behind me. Mr. Marcus. Marcus instinctively let go of my hand, his expression returning to normal. Mr. Ethan, long time no see. What brings you to our firm today? I believe our companies haven't had a working relationship in quite a while. Ethan rubbed his nose. Don't be nervous, Mr. Marcus. Today is a private matter. My wife is here at the firm to finalize her resignation, and I'm here to pick her up and take her home. Marcus froze. Ethan, however, calmly looked at the floor and asked me, are these your things? I glanced at them. They weren't anything too important, just some trinkets. Never mind, just throw them away. I'll buy new ones. Then, turning to Marcus, I said in a calm tone, Mr. Marcus, I really am married. This is my husband. I hope Mr. Marcus will attend Ethan's and my wedding on time. We won't disturb your work, we'll head back now. Marcus's eyes widened in fury. He snatched the wedding invitation from Chloe's hand and finally clearly saw my name and Ethan's on it. But I had already taken Ethan's arm and left. This was the firm, and with his principle of keeping work and personal separate, he certainly wouldn't bring his personal emotions into his work. Leaving the firm, I got into Ethan's car. Ethan didn't immediately start the engine. He leaned over to fasten my seatbelt, his eyes twinkling with a smile. Mrs. Ethan, are you truly able to let go? Whether I can let go or not, I have to let go. Ethan wasn't entirely satisfied with my answer and said casually, but Marcus seemed quite reluctant to let go, didn't he? I didn't answer. Belated affection means little. After 10 years, if Marcus had truly been reluctant to let me go, he wouldn't have hesitated about marriage. He was just unaccustomed to it, unaccustomed to suddenly losing me, unaccustomed to me, who had always followed him, suddenly belonging to someone else. As for me, I had decided to look forward. I turned to Ethan. I heard that Mr. Ethan had a girlfriend in college for 3 years, his first love. When they broke up, Mr. Ethan was hungover for 3 days because he hadn't dated anyone for 8 years afterward. Were you truly willing to let her go? That was many years ago. I'd heard it from colleagues at a previous job. Ethan seemed like a steady person, so when someone mentioned he'd been hungover for 3 days because of that girl, I hadn't expected him to have such a young and wild side. Is Ethan jealous? Ethan, however, was in high spirits. I turned my head to look out the window. Ethan, we'll also go through another 10 years together. 10 years. Marcus and I also had our passionate moments, but eventually, everything settled into quietness. What about Ethan and me? What would happen after 10 years? Ethan squeezed my hand. More than that. The family doesn't have a tradition of divorce. We'll have not just 10 years, but 20, 30 years. I looked at him earnestly. Ethan, if one day you decide that being with me is boring, you can tell me directly. I'm not a clingy person, I'll let go and leave. Undeniably, during this time with Ethan, I had developed feelings for him. Yet, even so, I couldn't help but wonder, what if Ethan and I encountered a similar situation to what happened with Marcus? Mrs. Ethan, no amount of promises can compare to my actions. Time will bear witness to everything. Ethan held my hand tightly. It reminded me of our second meeting 4 years ago. He had asked me, Ms. Grace, you've been working so hard with Mr. Marcus for so many years and still aren't married. It must be because someone as conventional as Mr. Marcus is quite boring, right? Have you ever considered getting a new boyfriend? My answer to him was an eye roll. Such frivolous words made him sound like a playboy who cast a wide net. Yet, for 4 years, I genuinely hadn't seen him openly bring a female companion to any event. He always had male assistants. Of course, it might also be because I didn't pay attention. But I didn't care. My heart had been given to Marcus for so many years. I wouldn't easily give it away now just because I had some feelings for someone else. Even if we were married, it would be out of responsibility. The wedding preparations were complete, and I had hung up every call Marcus made during that time. On the eve of the wedding, he still found my address. Ethan and I had just returned from the grocery store. His hands were full, carrying bags large and small, while I held the fried chicken and ice cream he'd bought to cheer me up. Seeing, Ethan instinctively took a bite of my fried chicken and ice cream, carried the groceries inside, and didn't even invite Marcus in. In just over a month, Marcus had become gaunt, his cheeks sunken. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Grace, please don't marry him, okay? Let's get married, we can get the marriage license tomorrow. I told Marcus, Mr. Marcus, Ethan and I already got our marriage license. It was a month ago, the very day you refused to marry me. You wouldn't marry me. it was fine. I could marry someone else. Marcus's face went pale, and his body swayed. He gritted his teeth. Grace, do you even know him? Do you know what kind of person he is? You were with me for 10 years, why would you suddenly choose him? Have you two been together behind my back all along? My answer to him was a slap across the face. Marcus, you're insulting me by saying that. My hand tingled. I'd used a fair amount of force, but I still clearly told Marcus, you won't marry me, but you won't allow me to marry someone else? Marcus retorted angrily, Grace, you've been with me for 10 years. I'm the one you wanted to marry. How could you possibly marry him? I smiled. Because he wants to marry me. He's wanted to for 4 years, so I married him. Grace, wasn't unwanted. Besides, I had many other suitors. It was just that I had been wholeheartedly devoted to Marcus. I turned to leave, but Marcus grabbed my hand and asked, Grace, do you love him? His tone and eyes seemed to hold a last sliver of hope. I pried his fingers off one by one, enunciating each word. Marcus, I was with you for 10 years. All these years, I saw you at work, I saw you at home. Do you know that seeing you made me feel like I could see the end of our future together at a glance? Marcus's face turned ashen. He finally released my hand. You heard all that? Yes, I did. That night, after hearing it, I thought a lot. For so many years, I had devoted myself entirely to him. In life, I meticulously took care of things. Anything he wasn't good at, I handled. At work, he didn't like me to be too ambitious or step into the spotlight, so I stayed back and worked as his executive assistant. Yet, the result was a statement that seeing me made him feel like he could see the end of his life at a glance. Love? Was love for me to willingly follow him for 10 years, only to get no results and be told I was pressuring him? But facing Marcus, I didn't want to say another word. Every second I spent with him was exhausting. An unprecedented weariness. Marcus, I'm married. I hope you won't disrupt my life anymore. Marcus began, Grace, let me explain. But I was already inside, and Ethan had been waiting behind the door. Seeing me enter, he extinguished his cigarette and said, leave it to me. Then he went out alone to block Marcus. Ethan, you despicable opportunist. Marcus gritted his teeth. My body trembled. Yes, I was getting back at Marcus. Only at this moment did I truly feel that it was completely over between us. I heard Ethan's voice. 4 years ago, your firm was on the brink of bankruptcy. Do you really think you resolved that crisis on your own? Let me tell you, if Grace hadn't braved the heavy rain to come to me and ask me to withdraw from the competition, do you think you would have gotten through that easily? Marcus's eyes widened in astonishment. I closed my eyes. 4 years ago, the firm faced a huge crisis. Back then, Marcus was still a junior partner. If they couldn't overcome the hurdle, the firm would face bankruptcy, and Marcus would be saddled with millions in debt. Ethan was his competitor at the time, and his strongest one. Business wasn't just about tactics, it was also about connections. Ethan was backed by the Thorne family, he was the Thorne heir. That business proposal was originally meant for Chairman of Thorne. It was only when I took the business proposal to Chairman of Thorne that I discovered Ethan was actually the heir, hiding his identity. Such connections were impossible for anyone else to contend with. That project was merely a chance to hone his skills. But for Marcus, it was everything he had hoped for. Unwilling to give up, I gritted my teeth and drank a bottle of vodka shots with Ethan just to get a chance to finish explaining the plan to Chairman. After listening, Ethan casually told Chairman, Dad, this project isn't very difficult, and it's not that interesting. If she wants it so badly, just let her have it. He gave up that project, which created an opportunity for Marcus, allowing him to gain recognition, expand the firm, and, after several rounds of funding, reach his current position. But it was also that day that Ethan took an interest in me. He knew Marcus and I had been together for 10 years, but he only ever joked about it, never letting anyone misunderstand our relationship. Yet, for 4 years, he hadn't sought out any other women. Even if a rumor surfaced, he would immediately message me to explain. Although I didn't respond, I knew he was serious. I don't know how much time passed, but Marcus eventually left. Ethan came in and saw me. I frantically wiped away my tears, but he simply held me quietly, his voice full of a gentle hurt. Mrs. Ethan, I know you don't love me right now, but that's okay. We have plenty of time. You can slowly get to know me, get used to me, and realize that I'm better than Marcus. I couldn't help but laugh. I pushed Ethan away and looked up at him. Ethan, aren't you bothered by it? Bothered by the 10 years Marcus and I had shared? Ethan cupped my face. Of course not. My Ethan walked the wrong path for 10 years, and now she's finally found the right one. I couldn't be happier. I couldn't give Ethan an answer that I loved him right now, but I could embrace him with certainty. Mr. Ethan, you can rest assured. Now that I know it was the wrong path, I won't walk it again. We had both met the wrong people. But that was just a choice in life. One mistake isn't a bad thing. It's letting a mistake continue that is truly wrong. And only by recognizing a mistake can one find the right choice. The wedding proceeded as planned. Marcus still came that day, his eyes red-rimmed, enduring the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd. I had been with him for 10 years, many people recognized me. Yet I had married the heir to the Thorne family. I calmly raised my glass to Marcus, wishing him a life where he could find someone who made him feel that every day held hope. And, Marcus's side in my 10th year with Grace, we lived as if we were one person. She knew me too well. I'd raise my hand, and she'd know what clothes I wanted to wear. I'd move my foot, and she'd know where I was going. After the firm got on track, life became incredibly peaceful. Until one day, a bright and vibrant graduate appeared in my office. She would buy cute toys and place them on my desk. She would also smile and ask me, Mr. Marcus, have you ever played an escape room? Or, I found it amusing. Grace, on the other hand, would only tell me where I needed to go next, what time a video conference was, and which private kitchen restaurant we had ordered from for dinner. Everything was routine and predictable, which made me feel utterly bored. So, I developed a strong interest in Chloe and hinted to her several times that Grace was quite boring. Chloe then started trying harder to find interesting topics to pique my interest. Although we never explicitly acknowledged it, this novelty offered me a different kind of excitement. So, when Grace brought up marriage, I felt repulsed. Was I really going to live like this for the rest of my life? I wrestled with my thoughts for a long time. Grace had been with me for 10 years, supported me for 10 years. By all rights, I should give her a resolution. Just as I was about to compromise, I learned that Grace had gotten married. In that moment, I felt as if a rib had been forcibly torn from my body. It was incredibly painful. That night, I drank heavily, and Chloe picked me up and took me home. I could tell Chloe liked me. Her gaze lingered, and her words were filled with curiosity about me. Emboldened by the alcohol, I asked her, "Do you like me?" Chloe's gaze, however, changed. She said, "Mr. Marcus, I used to like you, but after I went into your apartment that day, I stopped. Ms. Grace was with you for 10 years, and you never gave her a marriage. I don't think I could do any better than Ms. Grace, and I can't guarantee I could keep you feeling excited about me forever, so I've decided not to like you." She said she had been to the apartment Grace and I lived in for 6 years. Although had already moved out, she hadn't left anything in the apartment. But the fruits and vegetables in the fridge had expiration dates patiently labeled. Half the closet space was empty. Shoes neatly arranged on the shoe rack. Labeled and categorized books and documents in the study. There were no belongings of Grace's, yet her presence was everywhere. She didn't have the confidence to replace Grace in my heart, fearing that in a couple more years, if I lost interest in her, she would quickly be replaced. So she chose not to like me, and our relationship remained strictly professional. Back in the apartment, I surveyed the entire place. I bought this apartment after Grace graduated. At that time, I had actually thought about marriage, but I felt I hadn't earned enough money to give Grace a better life. But somehow, it ended up this way. I regretted my indecisiveness, regretted my hesitation. But it was all too late. On the day of Grace's wedding, I saw Chairman. He was very pleased with Grace. Aunt's gaze at Grace was also filled with tenderness. I, too, had once looked at her that way, but I didn't know when I forgot that past self, and grew accustomed to Grace's obedience and devotion. Grace wished me happiness. But I knew that from now on, no matter who I met, I would never be able to forget her. I lost, completely and utterly lost. Ethan's story I envied Marcus, because he had a good woman, but also envied me, because I had a good father. In college, I had a passionate relationship, eagerly pursuing the person I liked. But my father wasn't satisfied. Having been in the business world for so long, he could tell what kind of person she was at a glance. So we agreed on 3 conditions. I would hide my identity, start from scratch without relying on his connections to build my studio, and support my woman. Initially, things went smoothly, but later I encountered a significant setback. I deliberated for a month, wanting to ask him for help, but the woman I had loved for 4 years, upon learning of my difficulties, decisively chose to leave me. She said she had been with me for 4 years, yet I still couldn't give her the life she wanted. A woman's youth is fleeting, and she wanted a better option. I didn't try to stop her, but I was in immense pain, and it took me several years to recover from that relationship. Until I met Grace. At first, I just found her interesting, but after learning about her relationship with Marcus, I became deeply captivated by her. I fell in love with Grace. A woman who had loved someone else for 10 years, following him without regret for a decade. The Thorne family heir, had everything from birth. Marcus, a businessman from humble beginnings, had nothing, yet he could make Grace follow him so devotedly. 10 years. A full decade. A woman's best years, given to him without a single complaint. My heart ached. But I knew she loved him, they had 10 years together. I had my own principles. I expressed my interest in pursuing her, but I wouldn't disrupt her life. If she and Marcus ended up together, I would wholeheartedly wish them well. If she and Marcus didn't make it to the end, I hoped I could be her first choice. Luckily, I made the right bet. Grace and I were similar, so we should be together. That way, we wouldn't let genuine feelings go to waste. I understood Grace would need a long time to heal after detaching herself from Marcus. But I believed she would eventually realize I was the best choice, and then, she would fall in love with me. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.